So we are live here. So I'm gonna go ahead and cover indices first. My chart on indices, and then we'll have questions over it. Then we'll move to like oil and then gold, whatever. So here we are on the indices triad, right? So if you look at the profile for the week, you're always gonna if you're gonna have like a reversal week, it's just like the daily candle. You're gonna have a small wick. So check out YM, check out over here on ES, and then we have the strongest asset being NQ at that largest wick. Typically, if you're gonna reverse early on in the week. So you can't split the week in half, right? Because there's 5 days. But typically, by Wednesday, you want to see a reversal, but ideally earlier than that. So you see on Monday here on YM, we kind of gap up into the previous high, and we instantly expand away, right? And this is very telling when this relevant low here on YM does not get it doesn't get manipulated, right? It doesn't get manipulated for this asset to catch up to maybe the leading asset, right? So what you'd be looking for is actually the opposing side. So you'd be looking for these assets being ES and NQ to manipulate to catch up to this asset being YM, right? So that's what we had exactly, right? So if I pull up this little thing here, if I can find it, yeah. So we know of this schematic here about decoupling markets. We know this is a potential reversal signature where an SMT gets put in or one market hits a high, it fails to reverse. So if I show you what that would be this asset here. Look at NQ. It's just taking out highs, taking out highs, taking out highs. Now, is this over here? Is this a very, very bullish signature? No, right? And over here, if these assets are showing weakness and the strongest asset over here is not even showing really much strength, I'm just waiting for out assets to re-sync bearish. That's what I'm waiting for. So that's what you see here. So you see Monday's high. It got taken out on Tuesday, right? Where we technically had like a Tuesday SMT here. We had, well, it was like very decoupled, right? So what you're waiting for is ES to trade into this high, to break that SMT with NQ. So that's what we have here, right? Whoops. So as soon as it breaks that SMT, what do we have? This creates a new high of the week. So it's kind of like that delayed protraction profile where maybe a daily candle or a weekly candle or any candle, it opens low first, it leaves a high, so the current high of the candle. So it's supporting bearishness at this point already, because what is price doing at this point? It's already expanding away from the weekly open. If I bar replay and I show you the weekly candle at this point, that's not it. Is it this one? Nope. Oh yeah, it's this one. I don't know why it's not. Oh, here it is. So check this out. Look at that large weekly opposing run, right? It's already supporting bearishness at this point. So when it comes back up here to take out this high, this would, support that reversal sequence, because now we have this exactly. I'm going to show you. So not only do you have the profile itself, so the profile itself, the daily candle opening high first, right? You not only have that, but you have the reversal sequence in this supporting it, where you have one asset trading into, here's NQ, right? Here's YM with that SMT. Here's ES, or not YM, sorry. Here's ES with that SMT. Here's NQ failing to manipulate. This would be NQ over here, trading way above the high. Here's ES, the middle asset, breaking that SMT. And most importantly, you have YM holding that SMT. Look at this. Right? So this is how it looks verbatim, right? This is how markets reverse and become correlated. I don't just make this stuff up. So this is exactly, look how far away at this point. Look how far away YM is. It's extremely far away. Look, we're in deep premium. Over here, we are in deep discount down here, right? And where are we leaving on here on YM? Right, a bunch of lows. Right, I have all these lows. Right, if I go on this weekly candle on YM, it's really, really supporting bearishness, right? Look at that. So it's really unlikely that you're going to see that this asset is going to, flip its candle or whatnot, right? So it's a bit of a weird weekly profile. It's kind of like seek and destroy, right? But if you look here, this is something that I have not taught you guys. I will teach you guys one day. But just to mention this, right? the candle profile, right? Open side first. So even the candle profile supports this, right? The high of day, right? GXT, 2 a.m. reversal. But this is very, very, very significant. It's this closure right here. What do we notice about this closure, guys? On the strongest asset, what do we notice about this closure? That was once the strongest one, right? It's the most bearish, exactly, OG. It is the most bearish close in the whole triad, which is a form of strength switching, right? And that is why, right, Thursday we sold, right? Or a lot of you guys did. Some of you guys were looking bullish. We can cover this more in depth as well. But you can even see the 6 a.m. close here, right? What do we see at this closure? Right, it's creating a new low of day, right? Which is pretty significant because there's nothing really beyond the current low of day. It's just a gap. When this happens, it can be hard to kind of just straight up expand through it because there's no close proximity objectives. This is why I was waiting around. I was waiting for some sort of reaccumulation. So some sort of maybe trade back to a range, really showing the failure to reverse from this level because it is a significant area. But it's heavily favoring shorts. But anyways, that's what we had on Thursday. So at this point, it's like, I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? The profile here. We have a Thursday reversal on ES and NQ, but I mean over here it's a Monday reversal, right? We also had that previous high SMT, like I mentioned. So on YM, what do we have? We have open objectives. This relevant low down here. Over here on ES, we don't really know how far it's going to go, but we could maybe see this low, right? Because we could definitely see this low. Let's mark out that same low on YM. So why can we see this low, guys, on ES and on NQ? What do you guys think? Why do you guys think that we can see it? See those lows? Yeah, exactly, because YM did not reverse, and now you have all assets in sync. This is important. Once you have all assets in sync, this is when big moves happen. So this is where you can expect big moves. What is another reason why we can see continuation lower? What do you guys think? Think about candle profiling. There's like two things we look for with candle profiling. Not necessarily. Yep, small wick. So we have that small wick, which would, allow us to expand, right? And also, NFP. That's another thing, right? With NFP, we have a very volatile day. So we can expand. And this is something that I don't really... It's one of those little things, but let's go to monthly close. Look on YM monthly close. We have a new month, right? So what do we have here? Look on YM. What do we have? We have a divergence here at all-time highs. And we have YM with a previous month's low, very in close proximity, right? So we can definitely target that as well. So yeah, that's what we have, right? So when I play price here, forward here, with that, what do we want to see? A small wick, obviously. But we expand overnight, right? If you actually look here, we do expand overnight, which is absolutely fine. I know some people are confused about that. I saw some people kind of confused about GXT and if there's no 4-hour swing. That's absolutely fine. The whole goal of GXT is just aligning expansion candles, right? So if I look here, this 6 a.m. candle, this 2 a.m. candle, what is the support? A bearish expansion candle. If I go to the daily candle, what is the support? A bearish expansion candle. So we're simply just trying to catch the high of these 6 a.m. candles, right? That support expansion aligned with the daily expansion. That's really it, right? We're confirming the high of this 4-hour candle with a 1-hour swing point, right? We don't have to confirm at this point when you come to charts. We don't have to confirm it with a 4-hour swing point, the high of day, because it's already an expansion candle, right? It's already reversed. We're just in continuation, right? So that's all we're trading is continuation. So when I go to the hourly chart prior to NFP, what's one thing that we can go manipulate into, right? So if you've seen my driver video, what are some things, if we don't open up within a swing point or whatever, I want to see the driver do what, right? I want to see it trade into something relevant, right? And I want to see it fail to go lower, right? That's what I would like to see. And at this point, if I draw out this low, we've already traded into this low. Remember that low that we marked out on the daily time frame? Maybe I didn't mark it out this low. Make sure I can see it. When I go to the hourly chart, we've already traded into this low on YM. So, and we failed to do what? We failed to manipulate it. So that's another thing. Now, with this day here, when you're this close to this low on ES, look how close we are. We're pretty freaking close. And we have an NFP driver coming up. This is pretty significant, right? We can definitely trade into this low. If I go on this asset, you know, we have all these equal lows. And this is kind of a mistake. I could have really held this for real, but I just kind of FOMO'd, I guess. I don't know. Kind of a mistake on my end, but it's really just because the daily range is already quite large. I just didn't know how far it could really go because it's pretty freaking huge, dude. Already, that's the one concern I had. It was like pretty large, but so maybe one thing that maybe you could argue, you could say, is that maybe we had this SMT at the lows, right, prior to the driver, and then you have, you know, is this a CSD? No CSD, but maybe you sweep out this low, and maybe you have this swing point prior to the driver, right? That could be someone's argument potentially. You have a swing point prior to the driver. So if this is going to be like a TJF, then what would NFP have to do? It would simply have to expand away from this low, right, and maybe target the current day 5. That could be an argument. But if you're going to be bearish, the other argument would be we have to hit some sort of key level, right? So this fair value gap is perfect, right? Look at this fair value gap. It's absolutely perfect. So I want, you know, 830 to go trade into this gap to continue lower. That's exactly what happens, right? So this is also significant because we see the strongest asset in NQ here. What is it doing? It is not reaching into this gap. So now you have a strength switch because we have YM, which was the weakest asset, is now reaching into a gap, right? When it shouldn't be reaching into the gap because it's weaker, but now it is, right? So that is a strength switch, right? So these assets can, you know, catch up, right? So when I have this SMT, it's called an SMT Fill. It's simply where you have a gap SMT and you want the gap to be in close proximity. Like, I wouldn't really care if, let's say, YM traded into this gap, for example, and then NQ like didn't. I don't really care about that. I'm looking for the most close proximity gap, and there's a couple reasons for it. For one, I kind of view this as like an AMD reversal. This is more like consolidation, really, to me. Very small ranged. It's because it's prior to NFP, right? You have an expansion, right, prior to NFP. You have some sort of consolidation prior to NFP, and then we manipulate into the gap just above that consolidation, which forms the high of this 6 a.m. candle, actually. This is also pretty significant, right? It's kind of like that delayed protraction profile I just showed you on the weekly candle in a way. So where the hell is it? 6 a.m. candle. So here's that 6 a.m. candle. So now I drop lower, and I see this. I don't really need to see much else, right? What do we have here, guys? What is this signature in price? Yeah, expansion with expansion. That is a reversal signature. So if I have an SMT, a reversal signature, the daily, the 4 hour, all supporting expansion, I don't really need to see much else. I want to get in before we take out this hourly low. You guys already know. I want to get in before we take out this hourly low. And yeah, the RR is not ideal. Like, it's definitely not ideal. This is how I entered personally, though. So here's your CSD. We have that hourly close, which I did not really wait for because this CSD happened very late in the candle. So there's only 3 minutes left. I already know it's going to close a reversal candle. So it's kind of like a positional entry almost, right? So I'm entering this here. I'm putting my stop loss here, right? Why am I putting the stop loss up here? Because this, I don't want to see what? I don't want to see a deep retracement, right? And I know that the candle's going to close down here. So if I just mark out the whole candle's range, which would be, I guess, yeah, right here. I know it's going to close somewhere down here. But mark out that whole candle's range, or that wick or whatever. It's positioned above the EQ of the previous candle's range. You know what I'm saying? So it shouldn't be going up here regardless. So I put it up here expecting a, what do you call it? What is it called? A breakaway gap, right? I don't want this fair value gap to be filled. So that's what I enter on. And now I'm really just seeing how price reacts to these lows, right? Around 9:30. So if I play price, I'm already in. This is another position you could enter as well. Another reason why I'm trusting this prior to 9:30 is because we manipulate prior to 9:30, but we haven't yet really expanded away, right? And it's a bulky series of opposing candles, so we have a manipulation prior to a driver. So if 8:30 manipulates, then what should 9:30 do? It should expand, right? So that's exactly what 9:30 does, right? This is a really nice signature to see, right? We've already, look at this little small retracement. You see small retracement back into this range. If we know that this is the high, that should not be taken. And we've already retraced at this point. I don't want to see a deep retracement. You had some sort of retracement here. I mean, it should just rip, right? It should just rip at 9:30. That's exactly what happens. So once it starts to really expand away and it failed to manipulate this level, I mean, it's just off to the races, right? At this point, there's really nothing stopping it from getting to these lows. And that's really what I should have TP'd at. I think I TP'd around, I don't even remember, like 600 ticks or something, around the 10 a.m. open or something around there. I think it was like, I don't really remember. I'd have to look at it, but I really should have TP'd either when, but I would have to endure this. Actually, I wouldn't. Wait, would I have? Technically, yeah. I would have to endure this like retracement, which is not ideal. And I knew we could have got some sort of retracement like at 10 a.m., right? Because if we're going to trade back in the range, it would be at 10 a.m. Because this 6 a.m. candle does not support, reversal higher, and the drivers are expanding away from it. So 10 a.m. would have to be that retracement or that reversal. So I don't really want to risk that or, whatever. So I was just TPing pretty early on, but obviously it's a great trade. I mean, 600 ticks, I'm not mad about it. So anyone have any questions about that? You see the logic behind it? Ton of logic, extremely great trade. I mean, I saw a lot of you guys take that. It's awesome. Yeah, those retracements suck, and they can happen exactly at 10. We already know when they can happen. It's at 10 a.m. Happens all the time where you see like a daily range expand, like very large prior to 10 a.m. 10 a.m. either consolidates, retraces, or just reverses back in the range. So I just decided to get out prior to then. So like I can dedicate a stream to narrative building because it's I'm trying to keep it on I guess the more current price action. I do like lessons like that. Like I'll dedicate streams like lessons on that type of stuff. But if I start talking about that, I mean, I'll use up the whole hour. I only got like 30 minutes left. I'll use the whole 30 minutes. When SMT break is expected, first asset fail to manipulate second asset expected to break the SMT. Do you require a Tuesday SMT to enter the second asset? So you're asking when this gets created. So when this SMT breaks it, do I expect a second stage SMT here? Not necessarily, right? But I believe we get something along those lines. Oh yeah, this is just strength switch, right? So if I show you the strength switch, that's all I really need to see. The two-stage SMT and the strength switch is actually right here. And I actually traded this as well. So you already see the strength switch and the closure of the candles, right? But if you zoom in a little bit here, you have the strength switch here with this candle, right? So while this asset is creating a swing point, right? So we always want to have a SMT on swing points ideally, right? Because market can't reverse out a swing point. So in this SMT with either candle 1 and candle 2 or candle 2 and candle 3, right? That's a great confirmation, right? So that's what you have. We can use that as our second stage SMT or a strength switch. So you already see it here, but really this sequence alone, when you have the other asset have SMT here, that is already kind of a reverse sequence. So like what I want to see mainly is the asset that is that middle asset that's catching up to break SMT. I want to see this one show signs of reversal, and obviously this one as well, right? So like every time you create an SMT, like you want to see signs of reversal. That's literally it. So maybe you don't have a strength switch or whatever, but it does show signs of reversal. So that reversal signature, that's all that really matters, right? Just to put it simply. Call 21R this week would have been more, but main problem is early entry. Any tips? Bro, you catch 21R this week, I don't think you need any tips. Early entry. Early entry, so like I will enter early. It's pretty much, if I enter early, it's got to be at the invalidation level. You know what I'm saying? So like where this is the only place to reverse. So like if I'm going to take my one shot for the day, it's going to be at that level. And that's where I just don't want to get missed or something. Where like there's just too many things aligned where it's like it might be risky to wait for a second opposing candle or a retest. So these are things that you can enter early on with the right intentions, with experience and whatnot, which I do all the time. When you have SMT and stuff, it's like it's gonna reverse there or never. You know what I'm saying? It's like I just take it. The candle supports expansion, like just take it. Yeah, we'll go over gold pretty in a minute. Has to do with I'm looking at other assets. They tell you. Never just looking at one asset. One asset, so you're just trading the weakest asset. It can lie. You know what I'm saying? You always want to look at other assets. They'll tell the truth. Where can we see the presentation you just showed? Which presentation? Oh, I cover it in like other streams or whatnot. I do not, so like, I don't even know if I can say it, honestly. Just, we're working on something, alright? And we'll see what gets added, what doesn't. So, yeah, I can't release them right now, though. Okay, so, when is a low time frame? So like, I always ideally want to see a lower time frame V shape. I think that's the highest lower time frame signature that you can see. But let's say you just get this, for example. Here's your first stage SMT at some relevant level. You get your second one. I mean, if you have that swing point, so this lower time frame strength switch or whatever, that lower time frame CSD, as long as it's in the rules of the Fractal model where you have the candle close and whatnot, you can just take it. But a lot of times, if I'm going to enter on the first CSD or whatever or not, I want to see like a V shape. Can you enter on? Oh no, I don't really enter C, especially C5. I'm never entering C5. And barely C4. So the way you want to enter C4 is if like you haven't hit like a draw liquidity, like that's the main thing. Like you really don't want to be hitting a draw liquidity. And ideally candle 3 is not like a huge expansion candle. Can you enter if you see loss expanded, you see wait. Oh yeah, if you see a strength, so like if your lower time, so let's say the other assets, they all expanded something, and then you see a strength switch, yeah, you can enter it. Probably should get there with speed, typically. If you're gonna enter though, on a candle 4, don't enter on candle 5. If you're gonna enter on candle 4, you want to enter on the opening price. Don't enter high in a candle 4 because it already has expanded so much typically already. Around drivers when you're about to hit a key level or once you get back in the range, do you need 30-minute CST? No, I don't require a 30-minute CST ever. It's only when I come into session. Like if I come into session and there's a London reversal or something, I'm just going to see, is there a CSD that I can use. It's not really necessary to confirm the low of the day necessarily. It's more of like a PY that I can trade away from. Does that make sense? Like I just never really require a CSD ever though. That's just me personally though. I think at least for me, like I want to catch the low of day. You know, like if I wait for a CSD, I'm gonna miss it. But that's just my type of trading. So for example, it's like if today opens low, and then I don't even know how to draw the C. Let's say the CST is here or something, and we get like a swing point here. You get your confirmation 2 stage, blah 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 blah. I want to catch this move. You know what I'm saying? Because by the time we create, what the hell is happening, man? By the time we create this CSD, we're already in candle 3, candle 4, maybe candle 5. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, the only option would be to, if I come into, like, let's say I come to New York session, here's London session, the only option would be to wait for another swing formation off of this level. That's what I'm kind of using it for. But I'd rather use gaps. I'd rather use gaps over an order block for a POI, personally. But for obviously lower time frame entry, I'm going to use order blocks. Yeah, Zoro, it's a bit of a weird one. It's just that it's a new monthly open. It's NFP, YM sells draws, fail to manipulate it, and yeah, since you have these drivers, like it can expand. It's fine though if you missed it. Yeah, no swing needed. Yeah, the fact that 8:30, it really failed to go higher, right? So if it fails to go higher and then hits a key level and then puts in a reversal candle with an SMT, well, then that's manipulation, right? So then if we manipulated prior to 9:30, then 9:30 should expand. Another day we can touch on strength switching. Probably the first CST at 9:30. I wouldn't really be looking for 10 a.m. continuation. It's just too low. It's already beyond that like hourly low that I was talking about that I would want to get in before. Andrew, yeah, it's totally valid. I mean, everyone has I mean, yeah, that's totally valid. To be honest, that's probably a good rule to have, like overall. You know, if it was a different day, that's probably a really good thing to avoid. But given the day with the NFP and whatnot, I think it's still valid. But yeah, it's easily avoidable. Like honestly, if you're newer, I would just totally skip days that expand prior. It would probably save you more times than not. It just takes more experience when to know when you actually can do it versus when you can't. Is it valid when the weakest asset does not form bulky set of opposing candles while the other two did? Like YM small opposing candles versus ES big. I'd have to see an example. But typically if like, let's say INT and ES being the stronger assets, if they actually hit something relevant, then yeah, usually. But it depends how the small, like, I gotta see, like, what you mean by small opposing candles. If it's, like, super fucking small, then, no, I will not do it. You told we don't need 4-hour closure. Then how will you confirm the reversal? Well, a swing point, right? A swing point will form the low of the 4-hour candle. A swing point on the 1 hour and 30 minute. That's GXT from some relevant level. So you have in any way you try to, in order to try to anticipate swing formation, you have to be within a key level, right? Because that swing point is to reverse price. So you have to be at some sort of key level, right? With like ideally SMT, and then a lower time frame swing will confirm the low of that 4-hour candle. And some people, they don't trade candle 2s. That's fine too. You don't have to do it. It's all up to you. What are the listings that you are showing that an asset that opened high first on that day will expand higher than this? Oh, you're talking about a delayed protraction profile? Yeah, this is typically like we teach and we ideally want to see like a bullish candle. We want to see it open low first, and then this is the protraction phase. You enter below the opening price to catch the expansion. You're basically entering within the wick. But this is when a bullish candle opens high first. It comes all the way back to the current daily low to create a new wick, right? That will support expansion, right? And then it reverses off of that and continues higher, right? So it's just another type of candle profile, but you need like context. So with that, what I just showed you guys on NQ and ES and whatnot is this schematic, right? It's this reversal schematic here. So it makes sense to do it, you know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of time left in the week and whatnot. And there's SMT there, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, the same way like you want to see a daily candle form, you can use the same logic for weekly candle, usually. That's kind of the way I profile a week. I don't really use weekly profiles. Could you explain when you would enter on a C2 candle before closing? Often find during 9:30 because of volatility. Yeah, exactly. Yep, so around drivers, so for one, it has to be in a key level. Because, like I said earlier, you can't anticipate a reversal without a key level. So that candle 1 has to hit a key level, or the candle 2 that you're trading has to hit a key level. Either one, right? So let's say candle 1 hit a key level, and it closed a expansion candle, so there's no reversal. So you'd expect a reversal off of that candle 1's low. Right? So as long as it has a small wick, this candle 2, as long as it has a small wick, you can typically trade it. But I'm not just going to trade any and every candle 2 just because candle 1 hit a key level. We need to add some context to this, right? Or some confirmation to this. So either one thing you can do is either an SMT between candle 1 and candle 2, like this, or an SMT between candle 2. Well, no, you can't do that actually because you're trading. Yeah, it's pretty much just this, right? It's just between candle 2 and candle 3. Or sorry, candle 1 and candle 2. I can't talk, sorry. So either that, it's even better when you have a driver because let's say you're trading the 8 o'clock 1 hour candle or maybe 8:30 30-minute candle. When the driver actually expands away from whatever reversal or you know whatever key level, blah blah, like that's added narrative. So that higher the probability of that candle 2 actually expanding, right? So if I show you my trade on YM, I took a candle 2 on Thursday, yeah, or something, or I guess it was it this day? Yeah. It was actually 10 a.m. We didn't have news, right? Yeah, no news on 10 a.m. But it was this candle here, right? So I'll show you why. So if I show you the space between 9 o'clock's previous candle gone in Q, look how far away it is. See that? That's that spaced out SMT that I'm talking about. So you can already anticipate an SMT forming here. because of how close 10 o'clock is opening near 9 o'clock's high. You can already anticipate that SMT forming. So this is what I mean, right? You have this SMT here, right? We have back within the previous candle, or just, within this range from low to high, whatever. We have this, like, what do you call it? Order block that we can potentially reverse from, right? Or this area of resistance. And this lower time frame PA is really just like seek and destroy, which you already guys know is a form of continuation signature, right? Seek and destroy. I've already mentioned this a bunch of times. So when I see that small wick and whatever, I mean, this is the only area to reverse from, right? So this is when I just straight up enter off the first CSD like this, right? And this is my trade. I don't remember if I took TP. No, I actually took TP down here, right? I don't even remember. Did I? I don't know what I did here. Maybe I took it down here. Maybe I took a partial here. I'd have to look. I don't even remember, dude. Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did take it down here, right? No, I didn't. I don't fucking remember, dude. Yeah, I didn't. I think I took it, like, over here. I don't know. Something like that. But, yeah. Or maybe I did. Did it even get to this low? The same day? Oh, it did. Okay, cool. But yeah, I did not hold that all the way, it looks like. Or no, this is another day. Oh, I did hold it. Damn, I'm a fucking savage for that. What the fuck? I don't even remember this. This Thursday? Damn. I don't even remember that, dude. I don't know how I don't remember that shit. Like, what the hell? Will I continue the lectures? Yeah, for sure. Can you go over why you didn't trade Monday? Well, I was on vacation, but let's go look at it. So I wasn't even sure if I was going to trade at all while on vacation, but everyone was waking up super, like, they weren't waking up, my family was waking up at like 9, 10 o'clock, so I was like, hell yeah, I can trade probably. I brought my laptop, so, but we can look at what there was to trade, right? So I know that, obviously we gapped up into this high here, and then we kind of just consolidated overnight. As you see, consolidation high, consolidation low, right? And obviously this is a really good London reversal if I go to the 4-hour candle here. And if I show you the exact schematic, what do we have here, guys? We have an SMT being broken because this high over here, 1800 high, right, did not get traded into until 2 a.m. But if I go to the 1800 high, we hit this at 2200. So we have a failure to manipulate, which would tell you that YM should catch up into this high. So when it does, this is when markets reverse, right? So it's a timing thing. It's just assets waiting for other assets to trade into certain levels, right? So if you're gonna trade potentially something here now, I don't really like this PA because again, there's really nothing to target beyond, I guess you could. I don't really know what to target here. There's like these lows, but it's just not gonna get there ideally, or in most cases. I don't really know how far it goes. It did go pretty damn far, damn. But I would probably take a scalp. If anything, I'm taking a scalp this day. So let me just check it out though. So yeah, this is when like 9:30, for example, is gonna. It's not just going to rip lower. This is the same reason I waited on Thursday on YM. It's actually the same thing. It's like the drivers are opening up within the middle of a range, pretty much. So it's like it's not just gonna rip all the way down here. This is why I want to wait for some sort of like reaccumulation. So like another key level being hit. Ideally some sort of like failure to manipulate, within this level. Because if you fail to manipulate within this level, then what should we do? Right? We should just continue through it potentially, right? So that's what I would be waiting for. Let me look at this closure. All right, so check out the closures, guys. What do we see? The closures. Look at 9 a.m. here. It's a bullish candle. Look at the space between this, right? So really, when I look here, I actually want to see something. 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Oh yeah. You have in, hold on. What high is this? 630 high. 630 high. Okay. You have an two-stage SMT here. So if 930 reverses from this level, where's 930? Okay, yeah, 930 opens up way down here. Yeah, so you can't even trade that, honestly. I just wouldn't be interested in this day, honestly. Until potentially we got this, but like even this, like yeah, this looks like a pretty decent draw, you could say. It's just like yeah, you can already anticipate the SMT forming. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like 10 o'clock opens, it's already super low in the range, so it's just not gonna. It's gonna have a really hard time, trading to those lows. Now, you could have waited for something, for like something else, but when you open up here, it's like there's no key levels besides maybe this high. I mean, if that high gets traded into another asset, so it's 9 o'clock high, 9 o'clock. So it looks like this got traded into 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Okay, so there was an SMT, looks like here. So maybe some catching up going on here. Not really sure though. Let me pull this up because this is getting to be too much. Is YM right here? All right. This is NQ here. Oh yeah, I see it. You guys see it? What do you guys see here? Anyone see it? Yeah, I probably was fishing Monday. I was just at the beach and stuff. That was my first. Oh wait, no, I got there Sunday, I think. What do you guys see right here? Anyone see it or no? Yep, string switch. Via candle close, right? So bearish close when it took out the high. Bullish close. If you look over here, this asset has already filled in the gap entirely. ES. Look over here on NQ, or sorry, YM. We've already taken out this low. And obviously filled in the gap. So you have the strongest asset now turning the weakest to potentially catch up, right? So you could have framed something maybe like to here, something like that, right? And here is your second stage SMT. So that's like a small trade you can take, right? Something like this within here, right? So if I go on the hourly chart, it's just a candle to reversal. It's a 10 a.m. reversal, right? Is that off the previous 4-hour high? Yeah, it is, right? There's also a 4-hour SMT here. All right, so if I show you this, we have the day opening high first, right? Expanding lower. This wick is just a retracement. You have to view this as a retracement, right? The retracement ends where? At this gap, but really this SMT, which is important. So it goes from expansion, retracement. SMT is the trigger for expansion again. So just expansion, retracement, expansion. The wick size supports expansion. You could target the previous, 6 a.m. low, for example. Does that make sense? That's a trade you could have taken. Yeah, I just mean like you're not going to target like way down here and stuff like that. You're not expecting a huge move. More closer proximity objectives. That could be 3-hour, 4-hour. Yeah, typically it's like 2-hour though. Just like really close proximity objectives where you're not expecting continuation through that. Like you just don't really know how far it's going to be. Like a day that I always consider a scalp or something is like me fading the daily candle. So let's say the daily candle opens low, but it has a really large wick. I'm just looking for small moves back within the range. Back within this candle's range. That to me, that's the scalp. But yeah, we'll probably go over gold real quick or something. You guys want to go over gold? And I'll probably wrap it up there. CL or gold? We all want CL or gold. Okay, gold. All right. Yeah, you guys are gold diggers. All right. I'm gonna close this. All right, let's go over gold. We'll start on the weekly time frame. So what do we see on the weekly time frame here? Let me hide this. All right. Okay, weekly time frame. We had the previous month, being this month, created that SMT with that previous week monthly low. That's why I saw this July month expand higher, right? But one thing we have to understand is we are literally just in consolidation, right? So this is why it's a bit hard to navigate, and where you're seeing these random reversals. Like, look at all these reversals off of these like close proximity to this high right here. It's just a bunch of failure swings. That's just a consolidation signature and price. But more closer proximity signatures is what we had, was obviously that SMT, right? So the monthly candle expands away, the new month expands away, and then within the same month we retrace back into the monthly range. So if I show you, this monthly candle already supported expansion on, especially on Euro and GBP. So when it retraces back within its own range, right, so look at what it creates. It creates a fair value gap on GBP, not on gold, right? And over here, the same gap that you're seeing, it got hit the previous week, as you see. So what would this be here, guys? This is a form of market synchronization, right? Where you have the middle asset is creating a lower low down here. You have this asset is hitting, so it's the same thing that we use with highs and lows. We can use gaps because a gap is just a lower time frame swing point. So if I show you the daily time frame, this swing point they're seeing, you see how it got taken out a long time ago, failed to manipulate. What does that mean? That this asset being GBP should trade into it. And when it trades into it, this is when we're looking for some sort of reversal signature, right? So that's what you're seeing here. And you're seeing that the low of the week, so it opens low into that, sweeps at the previous low into that. We, on the weakest asset, we create SMT with not really a relevant low necessarily, but it's important that the other assets are in a relevant level. What are they leaving behind, right? Failure swing to the highs. So whenever you see an asset leave behind relevant highs like this, so here's the range, right? The range low, which created from SMT. So we're expanding away from the SMT. So it looks like this, pretty much. Here's your range low, range high, created from SMT, expands away, creating a gap, and then you leave this high behind. I'm expecting the most close proximity fair value gap to support price high, right? I'm automatically assuming this is a retracement because I don't want to see a reversal from a failure swing. Another reason why is because the monthly candle is already a bullish expansion candle. So if anything, I'm looking for the weekly candle to realign itself bullish. So all this is, so here is within this candle is the first week. Let's actually find it real quick. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Gotta put the monthly candle on here, or the weekly. So here's the opening price of that monthly candle. It's within this candle here, right? So you're seeing that prior to the previous month, or the previous month basically, it put in a reversal, right? And so we're just continuing away from that. So you see how the monthly candle is an expansion candle, but within that we have, bullish weekly expansion candles. So you're seeing that this weekly candle is actually fading. It's opposing the monthly weekly candle. So all we're trying to do is if we're going to going to continue that monthly candle. We're just waiting for, candles to realign itself, right, with the higher time frame candle, which would be the weekly candle, right, which is one time frame lower. That's GXT logic, right? That's all we're doing with GXT, really. So that's what we have here, right? Within that monthly candle, we're waiting for the weekly to realign. Where it could be realigned perfectly from this gap, right? So if the strongest assets are going to have resistance here in this area, then where would gold have resistance at, right? It would also pivot around this area as well, right? So that's why we use Ttrades. We use, these correlated markets to give us insights, right? So here's that SMT that we're seeing with gold. Looks like this. So even if you look at, this asset being, what's it called? Gold, sorry. If you look at gold, I mean, the weekly high is just like failure swings. Like, look at it. This is a bunch of failure swings. So if Wednesday manipulated, creating this SMT, right? And then you're seeing, what do we see here? We're seeing a strength switch. Why is this a strength switch? Well, we know that this asset is strong. We know that GBP is the strongest because why? For one, it's the closest to this high, but also it got to this low, the latest, where we know that Euro clearly like closed below this low, as you see. And Euro just got into it, or got to the low. And what we're seeing is price expanding away from the weekly open, right, which creates a low in the market. And now you're seeing SMT between this low, right, between GBP and Euro, basically. Or, yeah, GBP and Euro, right? And then the next day expands away from it. So when the next day expands with it, that confirms this swing point low, right? And what we have here is just, it doesn't really look very strong, this swing point here. But candle 1, candle 2, candle 3, right? So what would I be looking for? This asset to potentially catch up, basically to create a reversal candle, right? Because it kind of opens low first. If this is going to be the low of the week, Wednesday, then candle 4 should expand. If candle 2 and candle 3 didn't expand, candle 4 has to expand. And what's the perfect day to do that? On NFP, right? So that's what you're seeing here. So really what this is just gold catching up, right? Because, I mean, look at Monday's high. Monday's high over here on all these assets got hit a long time ago, right? And we failed to manipulate this high. I'm going to show you something here. So let's mark out this relevant high on, within the weekly range. If I mark out this relevant high and you see the signature of price that we get here, it is not a reversal signature. So if the other asset's not going to reverse at this high, then what should gold do, right? It should catch up. So that's what you're seeing here, right? Look at this PA here. It's just consolidation, right? So what should we do? We should expand again. So when you look at the PA within this Friday's candle, let's go ahead and look at that PA. So what price is really within this range, really? So it's around EQ of this range on both assets. So we know that this asset, this low shouldn't get revisited, right? We have an SMT there, shouldn't get revisited. We should find resistance in this around this area, right? So that's exactly what we have here. Is you have on Euro, we're creating an SMT with this relevant low. Why is this relevant? The space between these lows that you're seeing. So when you create an SMT there, right, and then a two-stage SMT. So here's your first stage SMT. Here's your second stage SMT. Looks like this, right? Then what can we expect, right? We can expect a continuation, right? Not only that, but also with the way this candle forms, right? That also supports bullish. Look at the daily confirmation, or the daily profile, right? It opens low first. The first 4 hour candle opens low first, and then obviously the low of day is formed from that two-stage SMT. And prior to the driver being what do you call it? NFP. What do we also have, right? We also have a strength switch via candle close. This asset here created a lower low. This asset created the higher, but you see a strength switch via the close, right? So I know that this is the low of the day. And another reason why you can anticipate this reversal here to be put in is because we expand away. Look at that V shape, right? We expand away from it, right? Now, the only thing stopping us at this point, if I look here, literally the only thing stopping us at this point. Also, by the way, this is what I mean by, look at the high of the week, right? It didn't really hit anything. Look what is this, right? Just consolidation. You have that V-shaped signature, right? SMT at the low of the week, the low of the day. And also, we have that V-shaped signature away from this SMT that created the low of the day, which creates a gap. Now you're seeing the strength switch here, because now you have the weakest asset is actually obviously creating the higher high here, and you're showing continued strength because we're not trading into this gap. You're leaving it open, which is a strong signature in price. So now the only thing we can trade into is the previous high, and obviously this high here. If you're not going to manipulate this high, where are you going to go? This high here, and obviously if you're going to get to this high, I mean, you might as well go to all these highs, right? We have the daily wick to support that. The weekly candle supports that. If you go on GBP and Euro, they all are expansion candles at this time. So what we have prior to the driver is very significant, because like I said, if you fail to manipulate this high, where can we go? To these highs, right? So obviously this is a consolidation, as you see. This little inside bar between this candle is a failure to manipulate. And what should we continue from, right? This fair value gap, right? We should continue away from this fair value gap. And the 6 AM candle is already supporting bullishness. We've already started to expand away from that 6 AM candle. So when it expands away from that 6 AM candle, what does it create? Right? If this is going to be a low of the 6 AM candle, which is protected by SMT, by the way, and we create a gap, I mean, this key level above the current candle's low should hold, right? So you get an SMT there, right? You get an SMT, in this level, then I should expect what? Especially if we haven't really expanded within a daily range. When I put this in my video about drivers, right, where if the daily candle hasn't yet expanded and hit anything relevant, so before the NFP, like, look what happens. Like, have we really expanded within this daily candle? Guys, no, right? We really haven't, right? We barely have. When we fail to meet this level, we haven't hit anything relevant, which is the previous high, right? What should happen, right? We should just expand, right? We've already hit a key level prior to driver. We already have a swing point. We haven't really even expanded away from this key level, really. We have hit this high, but it's nothing really significant or of significance, right? We haven't really expanded truly away. So what should happen? We should just expand, right? I mean, that's the only thing that can happen at this point. And we understand that, like, you can really trade any driver, right? There's SMT in this gap too, so you already have a reversal. So this level should remain. So that's what I enter on. You can see the consolidation, by the way, right? Expansion, consolidation, manipulation into the gap, right? Then I'm just expecting price to trade into this high. And like I said, overall, I want this to be like a reversal candle. So the current high of the week is the draw on liquidity, right? Because it's just like that. It's just like the logic of a, what do you call it? Kind of like a daily candle, where let's say it has a large opposing run, right? You want to target either the weekly open or the daily open or the current, weekly high or whatnot. So my objective is the current weekly high, which is a fair value gap. See how we don't really trade beyond it? It's because of the weekly wick size is quite large, right? And there's nothing beyond this level, by the way. So this gap is the only level to target, really, back within EQ of this range. Does that make sense, kind of, everyone? It's a bit advanced, but yeah. I'm really looking at the other markets to gauge this, right? And now in this asset being, and notice when the true when does this asset expand, guys? When does it expand? When all assets, they're all pretty synced, right? So you already know that Euro and GBP were bullish. The whole week prior to that, they were decoupled. But when they finally resync, right, and what resyncs the markets is a manipulation. This is when they all expand in the same direction, so that's why I'm pretty confident that we will expand away from these lows. These lows being here. Why would you consider that as consolidation and not as reversal expansion downwards? Wait, this consolidation on the 5 minute? Like this consolidation? Oh, you mean this consolidation? I don't know, dude. I'm not really sure, bro. Those highs. Yeah, these, right? I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you can send it in the chat. Did you enter on GC on second CSD? I entered right here, I think. If I remember, it's like somewhere around here. There's no second CSD, really. It's just the first one. The second CSD is NFP, right? So I'm just entering, prior to NFP, stop loss at this low. This should remain, right? A lot of people think it's like gambling, but it's a fucking prop firm, dude. It's like, what? Using like one mini, bro. Teaching Harper is crazy. Here, do you consider SMT silver? Okay, so the first thing I'm look at is the Euro and GBP triad. Like I will peep at silver, but typically there's not enough correlation. But if they're in correlation, you can check it out. But I'd rather just stick to like silver as its own thing, so you can use the silver triad the same way. So like, what I mean by that is like the same thing. So you can almost use silver as its own individual asset. Like this, same thing. Look at this strength switch here, guys. This low gets taken here. What does it do? This asset creates the deepest run on the range. So the weakest asset prior makes the deepest run back in the range, and we leave the no wick on the weekly candle. So the weekly candle also opens high first. So this is like the daily candle, guys. It's the same thing. So if this candle opens high first, and then the high of the week gets formed from SMT, like this, right? What should the next day do? It should expand, right? So if this asset here failed to make this low, what can we trade to? We can trade into this low, while this asset should catch up and trade into the same low, right? So you can use the same thing. The weekly candle also is a reversal candle. Damn, so is that monthly candle. Damn. picking targets, are you picking mainly daily objectives? So yeah, I'm looking at like current day high and low, previous day high and low, and then yeah, it would just be like relevant swings, you know. And if there is no relevant swings, so like maybe back within a range or something. Let's say I'm trading this manipulation. So my first target would be this relevant low. And the next objective would be like EQ of this range or something. That's really all you can do. I mean, you can use projections, but I don't really use projections too much. And then the next level would be like this low down here. So if the wick size is daily candles, you know, supports expansion, then it's much more likely that we can actually get on here. But if the wick size is large, then you'd be TPing really around these areas. Also, like if weekly logic is backing it up, let's say this is like the current weekly low. Let's say the weekly opens high first, then like this is definitely something we can trade into easily. All right, we'll do CL now. All right, let's do CL, guys. Real quickly. So, if you look here on this, you know, whatever you call it, this weekly chart. So even the monthly candle, right? It's a bit weird. This PA here on the high time has been asked for some time, but if you look here, what do we have that was previously stronger the last couple of weeks? We actually had HO being the strongest asset because look how close it got to this high. Right, it got very, very close to this high. Where we're seeing that these assets over here, but look how this asset was more so expanding. Well, especially on this asset, it was more so like consolidating. Like look at all these lows. These lows have been sus for like a long time. Right, they've been pretty sus for a long time. But the reason why it's going to be hard to get there is because of this, you know, how far price is expanding away from the opening price of that monthly candle, right? Doesn't really support that bearish move there. So it kind of had a lot of struggle to get there. And what we have here is a two-stage, or not two-stage, sorry. We basically have this SMT here, right? But we're seeing that these assets here being, whoops, I don't want to do all that shit. We have this asset here being, what is this? CL and RB has expanded quite a lot during the first 3 days of the week. And this is our relevant high, by the way, right? Obviously, right? So this is a relevant high here on both these assets. So the next relevant high is way up here, right? Which is not likely if, you know, HO is really struggling. If it's not in correlation, then what is it waiting for? These assets to manipulate something, right? So if you're going to see that these assets created the bulk of the range, the weekly range. So look how much expanded. This is very large range within the first 3 days of the week. So this is AM's Thursday counter profile, right? It's that same logic where we've already reached the weekly range, you know, within the really early on in the week, and we already hit the objectives, really. So it makes sense to more so return back in the weekly range, where that would leave the weakest asset. It could trade into all these lows, right? So you're seeing the high of the week is always going to be formed from what typically, or what can we expect a reversal to be formed from? SMT. So boom, you have the SMT, but that doesn't confirm it. The strength switch confirms it. So boom. Here's your two-stage SMT forming the high of the week. So I mean, when I saw this, I know that we can continue, you know, this day into what? All these failure swings or the fair value gap, right, of this weekly range. And obviously, I could have traded this asset, but if you're gonna look here, we are quite close to this, right? And all it was gonna take, I took a very small move here. And why did I know that we're gonna get here, guys? What are we doing? leaving behind what here? So if I mark at that same low, guys, why do I expect this same low? Where is that at? Is it right here? Yeah. To be traded on all assets. What are we doing right now? Well, yeah, we have an SMT here, but I already have shown you guys in my SMT stream that I never trust SMT that are damn near creating equal lows. You never want to trust that. If I go over here, we failed to manipulate that on this asset and on this asset. If I go to the daily candle at this time, let's pull up that daily candle. What is it already supporting? It's already supporting a bearish candle, right? So I'm already bearish, right? This is adding actually narrative for me, right? So when it comes back in the range, oh, and it's leaving these equal lows, what am I waiting for? I'm just waiting for something relevant to be hit to cap off the retracement. So anything opposing to my drawn liquidity is viewed as a retracement. So when you see price expand back up here, and look at the other assets, they're really struggling to even get close to these highs. So you're seeing that this is actually a two-stage SMT. I've also showed you guys the sequence as well. Let's actually pull that up real quick. It's right here. So you have one asset putting an SMT like this, and then it's returning to it's basically breaking the SMT essentially. So you're seeing that this is the SMT, and then it's breaking the SMT here, which creates that two-stage SMT. And what's really important is the space between this SMT, right? And if I go to the 4-hour candle, it's going to be a little concerning on this asset, right? But again, I'm looking at other assets, guys. Like, look here, this 6 a.m. candle, it looks a little like a large wick, but I mean, if I show you on the other assets, very, very small wick. There's like literally no wick over here. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to expand, right? What's important is that you understand this should form the high of the 4-hour candle. So as long as you're getting in before we really expand back to the opening price, doesn't really matter. So does that make sense? This two-stage SMT, when I drop lower as well. We also have a two-stage SMT right here. So all I need to see is a what do you call it? A fractal model, right? So if we go 30-minute, what do we have here? Is we have a strength switch. Why is it a strength switch? Well, you can also see it in this asset. So look at the right side of the screen, look at the left side of the screen. We have this asset creating a higher high. Over here, it's closing bearish. This asset creating a lower high, creating bullish. Right? So that's a strength switch in itself. And obviously, this asset over here is closing middle. So there's not a reason why I'm picking this asset over the other. It's just because it has a clear drawn liquidity, right? Because remember, guys, like when markets are correlated like this, they all are showing signs of reversal like this. They're all going to get into the same like low-hanging fruit drawn liquidity. Now, the strongest or the weakest asset in this case is going to expand much further beyond that. Like that's if you want to hold a trade, for example, you want to trade like this asset. But why am I not going to trade this? It's just because the objectives were kind of already hit. I do believe at least. Maybe they weren't. What is this low? Oh yeah, I guess I could have held this or whatever, but I just took it here. I was watching a lot of markets, so at this time. So it didn't really matter to me what I was trading or what I took. I think I took it off this fair value gap. I don't even remember. It's something like this, just this low. And that was my trade. I didn't think about holding it really. I was just fine with taking this. And obviously it went a lot further. Like a lot further. But that kind of happened to me on, so CL and NQ. It could have been a crazy day, but I'm not complaining. But yeah, that was my day. It was literally 1 hourly candle. Does that make sense to everyone? Do you know what the hell is that? clear. All right, guys. Probably going to end the stream here, guys. If I miss any questions, just at me in the chats, guys, and I'll get into it because I can't just like continue. I can't continue answering questions. We're just gonna be here forever. But yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Hope you guys found it insightful and have a great weekend. Catch you guys later.